Okay, welcome everyone. This day, Tuesday, 18th of November, 2025. We are very honored to have with us, on my right, Salah Eleyan, who is studying in Aarhus University, and he will tell us a bit more about that in a moment. And thank you to Jonathan Ofir as well, a very active Danish-Israeli composer. And you can tell us more about that as well, how your music influences your thinking as well. So I would like to hear more about that in a moment. My name is Michelle Patch, and I'm professor in global studies here. And on behalf of my colleagues and I, who are every Tuesday, we have a stand called Tuesdays for Gaza in our canteen at Roskilde University, where we offer a very informal space for students and colleagues to come up, have a conversation about some of the most important issues of our time. And you are all welcome to come any Tuesday. This week happens to be a quiet week on our campus because it's our reading week. So our students are very busy writing their projects. So we doubly thank you all for coming and making an effort. And I will start by perhaps setting a bit the scene for both of you, because we have a short hour and I'd like our participants to be part of the conversation as well. But first, I think I'll start with you, Salah, to tell us a little bit about how you came to Denmark and the situation of your family in Gaza today. And perhaps I'll return back to you a bit later so you can tell us what we can do in order to be in solidarity with Palestinians undergoing what they are getting through every day for the last especially more than 2 years now. And to you, Jonathan, I'd be very curious if you can share with us, how is it possible that Israeli society has come to accept this extent of violence happening just on their neighboring areas, and how they can manage to live with this, knowing that there's so much evidence now piling up. So tell us a little bit what it says about the psyche. If I am an Israeli in Israel today, seeing all this and witnessing all this. So I'll give you the floor in a minute. So we try and give you 10 minutes each, if that's okay, just to set the scene, and then we'll open up for a conversation with our audience. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Hi. Thank you for having us in this day. My name is Salah, and I'm Palestinian from Gaza, and I finished my study as my master's degree in quantum physics in Aarhus University 2 months ago. I arrived in Denmark in September 2023, so 1 month before the genocide started. And it's all my family there in Gaza, so I was the only family member outside Gaza at the time the genocide and so far. So it's if gonna talk about the situation for my family now. It's, I think, like most of you, like following, maybe it was more intense during the genocide and when the bombing and everything was intense on a daily and every minute. So as more focused now, I can see that maybe the people start maybe to see something else, or the media coverage in Gaza become like less and less, which is very dangerous, because I always tell the people that it's very important to keep following after like all this media and all this like focus goes, because this is where the actions could start, or there's like any kind of help could start. So for example, now, as you know, that the 95% of the Palestinian in Gaza are living in tents, including my family. And living in tents, it's in itself like a very hard living like situation for anyone. But also it's very difficult because they don't see like where's the things goes. This is not just living, it's also about the hospitals, about the schools, about the education system, and how everything should like have any hope to come back to normal. So for any family, think about these days, think about the future. They need to see any hope that coming. So for my family and everyone in Gaza, they really don't see any hope now, because they see that this just like the cycle of suffering, it's still going and going. And even they just don't even like focus at all about this United Nations resolution or what American says or what everyone is just say, okay, it's just let this finish and we just like get desperate about this keep going without any end. So this is why it's very important for the people who really like having a very deep look at the situation. And during the last 2 years, and not just the last 2 years, it's also like for many years following the oppression for the Palestinian people and the situation to living under the occupation and under the apartheid also in the West Bank more. It's very good to start now to have this area that is open for people who really care to intervene in this area and try to actions instead of just leaving empty for the Americans and for the Israelis themselves to do whatever they want and say, okay, now help the Palestinians, but we help it in a frames that we want how to do it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And of course, what we've seen recently is that these tents have been flooded as well with the first trains in Gaza. So that must also be excruciating. So we move now with the reality in a quick, very well done, 10 minutes, to what does this tell us about Israeli society, witnessing all this, especially in the last just over 2 years. Excellent.
Thanks, Michelle and Salah. Thanks for inviting us. Recently, I think we can look at recent events of Israeli politics and recent polls to answer this question factually. There was a recent conference of the Israeli Zionist left. I wrote about it on Mondoweiss. It's the Workers' Party, the Labor Party. It kind of morphed into something called the Democrats. It's a merger of the Labor Party and a bit further left, Meretz. So that's like the Zionist left in the political spectrum. And they had a commemoration of Yitzhak Rabin. He was murdered 30 years ago. I think they do it yearly, but this one was 30 years. It's a big thing. And at the Kibbutz Seminary. And one of their main guests was Giora Eiland. He's a retired general, but a very influential security person. He's the former head of the Israeli National Institute for National Security Studies. In 2004, incidentally, he called Gaza a huge concentration camp, not the first and not the last. And he's actually more known in the recent couple of years for both his statements about what should happen in Gaza and also being an author of what is called the General's Plan, which is basically known as a plan for the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. He was very precise in his descriptions in an article about what should happen in Gaza, that Gaza should be starved, and even spreading of epidemics could hasten the victory. No, this is real genocidal ethnic cleansing advocacy. He was somehow recognized as their guy in the left, because he comes from this agricultural settlement and this background. The leader of that party, Yair Golan, also a retired general. He was also deputy chief of staff at a point. He's made some kind of critical statements, which he's known for, but he's also made some downright genocidal statements. So when he sort of got back into politics after around October 23, he became like a hero because he made these one-man operations, rescue operations for Israelis. But then on October 12th, he's being asked on Ynet radio, what do you think is the solution to this with the hostages? He said, just say to the Palestinians, you can all die of starvation, and that's completely legitimate. And then in January this year, he was saying on another podcast of Haaretz, he was saying, well, of course, most of us would just want 7 million Palestinians to evaporate. But typical for the Israeli left, he said, but that's not really realistic. But these are the types of people that you have on the Israeli left. And when you look at the polls, I'm talking now particularly of Israeli Jews, because this is the political stratum that in the apartheid state of affairs in Israel, this is the political stratum that has the main influence, not the Palestinian representative parties. So when you look at the Israeli Jewish polling on various items concerning genocide, so you obviously don't ask people, do you want genocide? Because usually they just reject the possibility that they are committing genocide. But when you ask them about constituent acts of genocide, like starving a population, okay? So we know this has been a consistent thing. It also exists in the ICJ orders, which they repeated and again, and or the ICC, arrest warrants of Netanyahu and Gallant, also for starving a population. So in August, there was a polling. Are you concerned with starvation in Gaza? And this has been widely covered in the Israeli mainstream, both right and left. On the right wing, they even mocked it, and everyone knows about it. They've seen those dying, starving babies, right? 79% of the Jewish Israeli public is not concerned. And if you look at other things on similar questions like, are there any innocents in Gaza? What was it? 75%. And do you agree with the ethnic cleansing with Trump's Riviera plan at the time? It was basically known as the ethnic cleansing plan. 8%. There are more. It's the same picture. It's the same picture, and it's also recent. And so, in other words, 4 out of 5 Jewish Israelis simply support the genocide. And if you ask these questions on these same issues, on the population under 40, it's even more extreme. It's 9 out of 10. It's not 8 out of 10, it's 9 out of 10. Those are the people basically executing the genocide in the army, yeah? So you are in Gaza, maybe you don't meet soldiers that much anymore, but if you do, or you get their rocket fired, or if someone is looking at you through a killer drone or something like that, not out of a chance that they don't see you as a human, they see you worthy of immediate death. And the reason another data point about those, you might have heard about this gang rape case that really was over a year ago, but the video was leaked out by the Israeli military general in August last year. And now there's a scandal about it because she admitted it was her. And at the time, a year ago, 65% of the Israeli public, they didn't think that those people, the gang rapists, they should be criminally persecuted. The question was asked if it proves that there is reason for the suspicion. That is, that they really do think that they are gang rapists. 2/3, no criminal prosecution. They said at tops, military disciplinary process, which in Israel is a code language for move them to another unit and they'll rise in their ranks again. Nothing. So if you look at it, my explanation for it is largely that on 7th of October 2023, those who were being hit very hard by the Hamas-led attack were kibbutzes, because they are simply the major part of this Gaza envelope. And my family is also my dad's older sister, older brother, and their families, they're living there. I know. So that population was hit very hard, but that population also responded rhetorically in a way which said, kill them all, don't leave a stone upon stone in Gaza, final solution. I'm citing kibbutzniks who said this on mainstream media, and the head of the kibbutz movement, he had a very long interview in Haaretz last year. He said, he confirmed that this is not just a few people who, happen to lose a husband or a son, and this is many people, he said, in this, and they are the new victims of peace. These people don't think there are good people on the other side of the fence. They can't tolerate to hear Arabic, and they want to see Gaza erased. He confirmed that this is a societal matter. And that gave a green light. I mean, 2/3 of Israel is basically considered right-wing, you can say. So that gave a green light for the right wing, which, you would hear this from the extreme right, like Bezalel Smotrich and Ben Gvir, erase Huwara, erase this, erase that. And on the left, they would say, these are the extremists, that's our problem. Now it was the left-wingers who say, not erase Huwara, erase Gaza. And the right wing said, oh, okay, welcome, now you got it. That is my explanation for what we are seeing today.
Thank you so much. So, Salah, you mentioned hope, which is a difficult thing to imagine these days, not just in Gaza, as you said, but also in the West Bank and also in East Jerusalem, as we witness the news every day. And Jonathan, you told us about this complete indoctrination of a whole society, right? So that 1/3, I'm curious about whether there's any hope in that 1/3.
That 1/5, you mean?
Or 1/5. If we go the more pessimistic route. But we have a kind of open conversation here, and I would like our students especially to have the first say. We are very amicable here, so don't be afraid that your question might not be worded correctly or it's not the right question. Just raise your hand and tell us what your name is, and then we'll pass on the mic to you so that everybody can hear you. So who would like to go first? And then, of course, if the students don't put their hand up, then I will ask my dear colleagues to do so, and our dear guests. Who would like to give it a go? Yes. So.
Let me say, there's a lot of students here, but I saw the event and choose to participate because it's quite interesting to keep talking about this issue. But I want to hear from both of you. One thing is what's going on in Gaza or the rest of Palestine. The other thing is the Danish point of view, because as a Palestinian Dane, raised in Denmark, always lived in Denmark, only knowing Denmark and Europe, Scandinavia. My view on democracy, on human rights, on international law, and so on, it's quite an eye-opener. Like it's something else today than it has been before 2 years ago. It's more than a disappointment. More than that, I don't have the right word to describe my disappointment of what I thought was democracy values, international law, and so on. It doesn't matter when it comes to Palestine. So one thing is what's going on in Palestine. The other thing is what's going on in Denmark. What's your point of view of what's going on here and the way we used to deal with these issues? We have Russia, Ukraine as an experience, and a whole other experience when it comes to Israel Palestine. So I want to hear what you think about it.
Try something with the mic because I see that sometimes the touching of the line Can we try to put it like this?
Yeah, it's,
I think it might work. I'm really sure. What do you think? Maybe not because it
it's
is.
working.
No, it's better. We just hold them, but be careful with them.
Okay, yeah, it's the question that we see, like, it's a question in the world, especially in Denmark. I'm from Gaza, and all the memory, all the dialogues, and all the life that I had just was in Gaza. So when I arrived in Denmark, I was just a student, know nothing about the Danish policy and the Danish. I mean, we had all like an idea about Denmark, like it's a bit tough country compared to France, for example, or compared to. But I didn't like see all these like internal things. And then like by like months that I had to go because it's the genocide's happening, and the debate like in Denmark become like growing and growing. So I have to be involved in to try like to also heal myself, because I cannot just like absorb all the things, especially that the family part in my life was cut off. So when I was in Aarhus, I was every day before the genocide, go back after lectures, after the university, and just talk with my family, whatever we used to talk about, the food, the what's going on in Gaza, everything. But everything now, since October, since maybe the first month, the communication was cut off. So I had to find alternatives and see what's going on in this Denmark, which is, to be honest, it's the most difficult thing I ever encountered. Sometimes I don't want to say that being in Gaza is better. No way that this could being in Gaza myself. But this being in Denmark and have to live this dialogue, it's really like very, very tough, because you could see like everyone was talking. So when I was in Gaza, the bomb is falling, we're running, everything. But your mind never think about what is like a country 1,000 miles. It just they think, okay, all of us maybe don't support us. They just all of us in Bubins, but your mind don't consume any time think about it. So you don't live in this dilemma and this like struggle and this mental. But living in it and see like what this person says and what the university says and what my professor says. And being living in a university like Aarhus University, I don't know about Roskilde, but Aarhus University so far did not want to acknowledge anything. So I've been like also like some of you part of the student solidarity group in Aarhus, and we've been since October we've been sending emails to encourage them to like some demands. First is to like divest from and cut the relation between them and the Israeli universities and acknowledge what's happening, like make just statement. So for many that this statement was a no, that we could just like make a statement that we support all students who face difficult hard wars or anything, but did not like to want to mention anything about Palestine or Gaza. But for Ukraine or for maybe other things, it was always like focused on. For me, why it's different? Because if I want to like go to ask for extension or ask like this exam to be shifted or anything, like talk with the doctor or talk with the what they call counselor at the university, it always very tough to tell them that it's happening in Gaza, like my family there, and 1, 2, 3, 4, because you cannot really like feel safe that this person is really acknowledged. So when I say, like, for example, I want to say genocide, but I couldn't. I just keep saying war, the war. I'm afraid to tell this council, this professor, that it's a genocide. Even I know that this is genocide because I see it more than him. I'm connected to it more than anyone else. But as long as the pain and the suffering is not acknowledged, it's getting like deeper and deeper, more than just like as how it shapes. But I've been like involving a lot in the pro-Palestinian groups and going in the dialogue. I mean, after 2 years, I had like these points that I'm really like sorry to say that, or not sorry, but this is your fight. This is your fight. We have our fight in Gaza. We see it. It's very tough. and this is your fight here. Whatever they say, whatever the media and the government and the politicians they say, you have always to be rational. You have always to be mindful. You have always to be in dialogue, whatever who the other parts talking, because you're focused on the goal. This is not about your ego. This is not about your feeling. I know the feeling is very tough. I'm like you are Palestinian too, and you see everything. But if you want to really care about the people on the ground, and this, you have always to focus on the goal. So the goal that you want, for example, this government to stop sending weapons or the university to divest. I have to try everything. You have to go to the dialogue. You have to go to the demonstration. You have to see like everything I'm doing, to challenge myself and go back and see, okay, I did, for example, this encampment on this. Did it work or did it make it worse? I have to be honest with myself. It really didn't make anything and make it a little worse, on the media coverage make it like us as just like people who don't care and just want to fight in the campus and don't want to dialogue. I know that this is really fucked up that you think that, and this is wrong, but it's your job to go back and correct it and try to find a new ways, because this is your fight here. And you have whatever, it's very tough, it's very hard, very shitty. You have to take it all and try always to see the goals and keep focus on them. Yeah.
Salah, Jonathan, how did we get here?
Yes. Can I say your name, Miss? Okay. So Asma asked why is this happening? And in fact, yesterday I noticed from Asma's post that she was forwarding that a certain judge in our country has said in a response on social media, yes, I am a Zionist, but that's just normal because it means I believe that Israel should exist. But I think that when we do that, let's just stick with that Zionism thing, because I think it really is the crux of the matter. And I think that to get away with it, as these Zionist propagandists often try to do by saying, yeah, it's just about believing in Israel's right to exist, or as Yair Melchior, the chief rabbi, said in our debate we had in June last year, yes, I'm a Zionist, but as a Zionist, you can believe in peace and that there should also be a Palestinian state. These kinds of formulations, they don't give the matter justice. In that particular debate, I asked Yair Melchior 4 times, in fact, you can look at the video, how he could reconcile what he was just saying with the fact that he chose, as an adult, he chose to be an illegal settler in the West Bank settlement. He would just not answer the question. He got very upset about it and thought it was a personal attack. I said, no, it's not personal, political attack. Live with it and answer the question. He would not. When we get into this Zionism issue, it's not just about believing that Israel should exist, whatever that means. It is, in fact, about standing with Israel, whatever it does, and reaching the unbelievably radical level of concern. Yeah. Concern, not even condemnation, and not to even speak about any actual, actions which should do something. So that we could talk, do a whole debate just about that. But it's that kind of alliance, ideological alliance with Zionism, and basically with the Israel lobby in Denmark, which is under the umbrella of the Jewish community that houses Dansk Zionistorp, the Danish Zionist Federation. It is that constellation and the political influence that it has, which in my view is what is behind what we are seeing here. Everything that we are seeing here. It is not about singling Israel out as these people often try or bemoan. It is precisely about singling Israel out positively. And the Russia test proves it.
Okay, I think there's also a very important point you raise about reckoning and justice. And I would like to hear as well from the other participants what they make of countries like Denmark, who have been proudly upholding, the international normative frame as the guideline for how states behave. And in this particular case, there seems to be a very clear exception, right? So I think that speaks to some of the work of my colleagues in the room. So maybe they'll come back to that. So who wants to go next?
So my name is Sam, and I've been learning a lot the past 2 years about Palestine and Israel, also being Danish and seeing a lot of propaganda here about, like growing up, I thought it was just like, oh, people cannot decide to live with each other because they have like religious differences, which is very untrue. I've come to realize about the apartheid state that Israel is. And I've been doing a lot of stuff and researching and trying to educate myself and also other people. I also taught a lot of stuff. And I was wondering if you guys have any tips on what you think we as people here in Europe, even if it's not just in Denmark, but in general in countries where there's a lot of like misinformation about the genocide in Gaza and in Palestine, what you guys would advise, one, to help Palestinians, but also to kind of fight the bigotry that still a lot of people uphold.
Okay, so I'll just summarize the question. There's an aspect of what do we do with misinformation about the issue of Israel-Palestine. I think that's a really important question to address. And the second thing that you raise, which is also important, is what can we actually do to change the narrative, right? To change the main narrative that also seems to be in the main one-sided, right? So I'll pass it again to Salah.
Yeah, about the misinformation, I think it's always like necessary to connect yourself to the people there. And I know that because every like media, they have agenda, and every like sources that they come to you, to Denmark or anywhere, they have like ways how it comes from person to person. So that it's like what is missing here, that the population, the 7 million or the 8 million, is very, very rare to be in Denmark, to have voice. So for example, I'm saying that always, if the Danish media or the Danish or anyone in Denmark want to hear the point of view of the IDF, they have a platform, they have their embassy, they have their social media, they have a very like easy access to any media. If they said any statement, the media very obligated to publish this statement. Or but for the people of the story, like we have a story for like a woman who got raped, and then she just finally said her testimony, but she's still anonymous because it's very hard. So it's for the Israeli, like if anyone want to hear about that, it's like very easy for them to say the narrative. But for this woman or for this family, this child, it's very, very, very difficult for them to have access, for you have access, like to tell the narrative for outside Gaza. So it's very important to have to make like that this is also like to keep pushing. If you are like want to work with the media, to keep pushing your media. And I've been also working with many Danish media like Politiken and I've been telling them it's your responsibility. So you tell me that Israel is not allowing you to go to Gaza. Okay, but what about the people in Gaza? Like they have all kind of like ways. Actually, so most of them like they never speak English, but they really like learn English during these 2 years when you just to speak with you. And they have their social media. They really risk like my friends, the journalists in Jabali, like Ansi Sharif, and they are like my friends and studied together. And they will never be journalists. They were just student in college, and then in this war, they really when they stayed in the areas where Israel prevented anyone to come, any journalist to come, they just pick their phones and try very hard to go to very places that they could catch any internet signal, and then try to post some videos for you or for anyone to see. So this is the way for see the information. So these people and they have to be humanized. You have to be trusted, and you could apply all the conditions and all the rules that what is the information verification should be. But when like a testimony from someone telling you that this happened to my family and this, like I really can't really like understand like why the media never really like care about this or really like take it serious. It's like if the Israeli media, they have like struggling to find a testimony for rape and then making hundreds of articles just like from different angles without any like a person just to come and testimony. In the other side, we have many like real people just having their face sometimes in the camera and telling you the story. I was at the home and then the soldier came and 1, 2, 3 in details, and I cannot see it in them. It's really mind blowing to see this like this thing because I see it because I have my Gaza media. It's all in my phone, and then when I see like these videos and get like see and then go to the media and see them speaking about Trump plan or about the UN against Israel thing or about it's like a wide terms that it just covers the traditional and classical way without giving the sense of the depth for the suffering of the population because they are always isolated. Even the prime minister of this country actually always supporting for Israel and meeting with Israeli victims and Israeli families, 1, 2, 3, and visiting. And she's never met any Palestinian, Danish, any Palestinian like victims. And the only time when she wanted to brand herself meeting or like siding with the Palestinian, she met with NGOs who like some of them working on Palestine and like see like herself now, I'm supporting Palestine. Okay, well, you don't see like people there. You don't just see like a third rank people that you have always to be isolated. And when I talk with them and reach with them, should be through some channels until this is the fight for. So for you, for example, like how it could help a student, which is I'm doing also as a student Aarhus, keep like reaching out and see like student like you, for example, whatever you study. I want to do a paper about the situation 1, 2, 3, and there's many students and researchers in Gaza trying to get any chance. Contact with them, try to make any survey, any like research plan with them inside Gaza, and they could also benefit from that because they also understand how you think and you understand how they think. And this is like this kind of research, cooperation, and academic. It really helped a lot in Gaza because as the education system is totally flattened and there's no hope even the next 10 years, it's very important now to help in this, to fill this gap. For every student in Gaza, you could easily find someone from outside Gaza who have like education peers or like a mentor, and keep going. And any chance could happen to visit Gaza if you feel safe, if you want to. It's very also appreciated. Like yeah, I'm always say this is the best way to help.
Thanks, Salah. I would like to continue on the same note. And actually, go very far back in history to 1948 in a way. There's a few layers here. In 2016, I wrote an article about the Tentura massacre. I think it's probably my longest article on Mondoweiss. I interviewed Teddy Katz, who actually did his masteral thesis on this massacre alongside other ethnic cleansing operations in the area. And at Haifa University, he got a top character in 1998. I know him from my childhood. I grew up in a nearby kibbutz. I went and studied with his daughter, and I knew him, and I talked with him for hours. Now, the story here is that he interviewed both survivors of the massacre, as well as other people like a tour guide from Zichron Yaakov and other people, I think even perpetrators, the actual Alexandroni Brigade veterans. He had 60 hours of tapes, like old-fashioned tapes, in his house. It came out in the Haifa in the library, the thesis, masteral thesis, and no one thought about it more. Until in 2000, it was that it came out in the media, and then suddenly he got a libel case from these veterans. It's a long story, but at a certain point, he almost died from it. He got a stroke, and he told me about how it went. I'll spare you the details, but at some point he felt really pressed to just sign their confession, which he regretted. He did it without the lawyer, and he couldn't take it back. And the confession was that they would publicize an apology from him in the papers. They didn't commit a massacre. I'm very sorry I suggested it. It would be only, I think in 2021 now, there was a film called Tentura, became very popular, with these actual veterans. Oh, come on, they told you everything. There was this raid, we rounded up people behind barbed wires and burned them with a torch thrower. This guy took them to the corner and shot them in groups, all of that. No one was in doubt anymore. There's a mass grave of 230 people there and aerial photos. And the thing with this is that, Ilan Pape, the Israeli historian, was saying about Teddy Katz's work that it was extraordinary because Teddy Katz took interviews with actual people, oral interviews. And this is something that some historians, like particularly Benny Morris, for example, they disregard. So if you look at Benny Morris' work, also one of those new historians, he relies almost solely and obsessively on Israeli military documents. So if you look at the Israeli military documents about what happened in Tentura, well, Teddy summarizes that okay, we came, we had a battle, 5 of our people got killed, and then we bathed in the beach. Okay, that's all. So you can't really see it from there. And Ilan Pape is saying that culture of oral history, it existed very much for the Holocaust. And it's not about getting every precise detail right, but it gives you a picture and from many directions. And this is something that is very necessary. So this whole story shows that it's first when the Israelis admitted it that everyone said, oh, there was a massacre. But they managed to bury it under the sand despite the many Palestinian victims and the many Palestinian survivors and witnesses, because they can. There is this inequality, disproportionate power structure in relation to credibility when you tell something, and that's what you are telling about, Salah. You can tell about something 10 and 100 times, and it counts for 1/100th of what one Israeli would say. So in order to fight back against this inequality, it's actually doing that work of actually, like Salah is saying, interviewing, meeting with those people, giving it the voice that it doesn't get in the mainstream. Long story.
Thank you. I think we have time for another question or two. Yes, I've got a colleague now. I think we've done the.
I just yell.
But because of the
No,
recording.
the recording will.
Because of
No,
the
no, no.
recording. So you could come here.
Yeah, right.
And you need to stand here because of the recording. Thank you.
Sorry. So I'm sorry because I was at the stand, so maybe we've already talked about this, but I wanted to ask a question about the strike that's called in Italy, because I think that goes to the question you were asking. I'm really interested in the questions of discourse. So I'm a professor here. I work on international law. And for me, I've been really struck by all of the rules and notions we have about how we organize ourselves that simply don't apply to what's happening in Gaza. And it's, again, it's the live streamed genocide that's so shocking. And one of the takeaways, for me at least, has been that there's a long history of those rules not applying in Israel. And it's the genocide in Gaza that's made more of us aware of that. But so there's something that's powerful about how discourse works. And now in Italy, next weekend, there's a general strike planned, right? So there are unions that are working in Italy, and already we've had, I mean, they had a pretty big strike, I think it was last month, but Chris Hedges and Greta Thunberg, a number of people who've been quite active, will be there. So my question is, what's Italy doing right? Right? What do you guys have a sense of that? Because I think that's going to that question. How can we be so silent here where there are other places where things are more effective?
Yes, Salah. You're aware about the major strikes in Italy? So there's a discord. I should add a little bit of context there. There's a huge discord between the position of the Italian government and the actual general public. So we've seen quite a lot of protests with quite large numbers coming out in Italy.
I remember at the time of the flotilla.
Yeah.
So so what's the question again? Like, what is between Denmark and Italy?
Yeah, so the question might be, why is it that we see this kind of public reaction in a place like Italy, where the government is also having a very different positionality on the question of Palestine, and yet in Denmark we have, of course, a government that, as you said, is very silent on Palestine, and still we don't have this major protest. I mean, we have protests every Saturday in Copenhagen and maybe some other cities, but we don't have this mass protest. What could explain it?
I don't know. It's just I've been in Italy just like last summer. Got invited by a Italian friend and stayed in Milano with the Italian family. And it's been like this talk. Like I could feel really the difference between how the Italian family talk about the oppression wherever it is, and the oppressed people, and how is Denmark talking about it. Even like I think it's like how people see themselves connected to it. In Italy, I feel really like the warmth of the heart of the people when they fight for something. And when I just got to my friend's house, the grandfather, who was here like a family living like my family, it was the grandparents living the first floor, and then the family living the second floor. So when I just arrived, and then the grandfather, he was waiting for you. He's 92 years old almost, and he's still working actually. He was like, you see, when you just always your friend, her name is Gaia, she's keep talking about you, and we're really waiting for you all the time, and you just like help me and keep talking to me about how he really like care about Palestine, and he was really like going to demonstrations during the Palestinian first Intifada and the first Palestinian Revolution. So it's the people themselves there feel they connected. So if there's like something in the minds for them, there's the living expenses, everyone cares, there's the education, there's the job, and there's also awareness and care about what's happening in other countries. And Denmark, not all of them, but pretty much part of this community is settled with the privilege that they have. They have very high standards of life, and they like it and they love it and they're really proud about it. So it's the jobs, it's the high standard of lives. It's matter for everyone here. And when they hear about like what's happening, they hear like with the empathy and sympathize with it, but they don't feel connected much. Like not the majority, but I feel like there's a lot of times maybe they don't feel like much connected. They sympathize, and the topic like always we want like to have children from like this is very relative. Like why Italy, which is have a very far right government, accepted the most country accepted children from Gaza, and not Denmark, which is social democratic party. I don't know. So this is a question I ask myself, and now this is the answer. The answer that because it's the part that you feel like connected and have like something to do. When you have like any Danish, like I really like because I have my family, and especially my mom who's very sick. And now with all of the friends and Jonathan and many knows how much I really want to bring her to Denmark because this is the only hope for her to live, to stay alive at least. So and I asked some friend and asked whatever, and then said, don't dream about it in Denmark. So I was saying that if I'm living in Italy, living in France still, it will be like very hope that I could bring just one member of my family, a very sick member of my family, to be treated in Denmark. So it's but when you have like this, any like politician or any party like make a post about accepting children with cancer or accepting patients, could see like all the comments and like the mainstream and how they talk about it. Why we should bring them like 1,000 miles? Why don't our countries take them? And why? And this is not far right people. This is also people like just Danish normal people. Because okay, what we should do with them? Maybe this is one of the differences. I don't know, but I'm not Danish, not Italian, so we.
Okay, one more question, so I'll be short on the answer. Thank you. Kirsten, no.
Kirsten, yeah.
Kirsten. I've been on a debate panel it was on Friday at the Marxist festival. It was with Bilal Al-Issa and Jesper Juhl-Mikkelsen. And so I'm not really an expert on these things, but it was discussed, and this question was raised, and as someone actually from the public reflected upon it, that it seems that in Italy they simply have more of a rooting of socialist, maybe also communist ideas in the working class, the structures and the trade unions, and that maybe we have just become too borderly, too kind of first world civil in there. And that I mean, I got many videos. I got videos from people during demonstrations in Italy over a month ago, and they were reflecting, like Danish people, they were reflecting how fantastic they're, much more like outspoken here, and more like in your face, and it seems like more free. I see that I just reflect that I think I pass sometimes. Is it Dansk Metal, which is close to the Sydhavn metro there, and with they at least used to have that Ukrainian flag on an electronic board, right? Really big thing, right? And you can see, everyone can do that. That's not real, like that's not like how do you call it, radical solidarity. It's just like when Russia invaded Ukraine in 22, beginning of 22, I happened to be in Aarhus, and the first thing I noticed was the Ukrainian flag went up on the municipality. Like, you can do that solidarity as long as the government accepted. But it's an extremely frightening prospect to see that, because it's a kind of fascist notion. If your government accepts that you show solidarity with these occupied people, then you can do it. But don't even think about putting a Palestinian flag on the municipality. And I don't know if anyone ever thought about that. But that's how I see like the difference between Italy and us here. It's like the people power seems like more stemmed here, and everyone is just more afraid of what the government will say and do.
Okay, we have one final question from Eric.
Thank you. My name is Eric Aounu. I'm an associate professor here at Roskilde University. And I have a question that's kind of echoes the previous one, which is about the discomfort that this whole situation brings to Danish society. We experience it here at the campus between people who would like to react and people who would like to comply to this general consensus that silence is better in these circumstances. And my question to you is, especially for those who, like you, who stayed for a while in Danish society, this discomfort, is it something related to authority, the citizen government relation, or is there something about race that is an unspoken topic that puts Danish citizens in a weird situation? We don't want to speak about race. And probably there's a racial issue there that we should not, because it's not so comfortable to express it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question that Eric asks is a continuation of the debate in many ways. So how can we explain the often felt discomfort of many Danish citizens when it comes to speaking about Palestine? And is there something about, for people in the room who are ethnically Danish, is there something historically here about the citizen-state relationship, about the authority of the state?
Yeah, I think I think this is also related that because the trust they trust like they trust their government and their policies, and there's also like kind of nice relationship here in Denmark between the people and the people in power. So whenever I bring something that really like it's for them, it's really like demand a radical changes. So when we say, for example, your prime minister supporting genocide, it's like shocking for them. So I mean, they can't like tell you that, okay, but my prime minister, she's still visiting the hospitals and the kids, and she's very sweet, and and then you tell me that she's like supporting genocide. So it's kind of like very, very, very discomfortable to have this balance between them, to tell you, yeah, I don't agree with my prime minister supporting genocide, but I still love her that she's doing 1, 2, 3. Maybe this is one of the points, but I'm not pretty sure exactly.
So, fill us in, Jonathan.
Okay. I also realize that we are
A little
coming
bit
to the end. Yes, a little bit over time. Thank you very much, Eric, for the pithy question. I think that about the racism, it's kind of striking to see how even on the most explicit far-right racism, like that of Dansk Folkeparti, they also, even when they talk about remigration and remigration, they also want to frame it as not racist. It's very important. It's kind of striking that in the recent Jyllandsposten article, they basically invented 4 quotes of major politicians to sort of argue that. So that was crazy. They took it down. But it's very important for them. It's almost like obsessive. No, we are not racists. There's still that great need to say that we are not racist. And I think it is connected with the kind of rather universal nature of humans to want to see themselves as moral after all. I mean, I see it also very much in Israel in relation to the genocide denial. It is not complete. We have seen even some organizations like B'Tselem, Physicians for Human Rights Israel, actually making reports saying it is a genocide, but it's still marginal. It's the most of society is in denial about this. Most of them just can't handle the haywire that occurs when the genocide idea is raised, that they who are the historical victims of the greatest genocide, as they talk about all the time, should be the perpetrators of it. It's an impossible reversal for them. So I see it in the same way. It's and the mental hula hoops that are being done, somersaults, sorry, that are being done in order to deny that I'm a racist. It's like you can say anything you want and then frame it like I'm not a racist. And what? Danish values, yeah. And yeah, and if you challenge it, it can be an udans for some. You know, if you're in the face of someone and ask, like Omar Shagawi interviewed a Danish Folkeparti politician in the supermarket, and he admitted some things that were not comfortable for the party. So after that, this guy he said that it was kind of udans, this interview. He didn't expect it or something.
But it's good for them to go to Novo and do it themselves for normal citizens.
Yeah, it's not. So I don't know. I think there is this. Of course, there's this wish to see oneself as a decent person after all, and as dansk. I mean, these people, the most explicit racists, they are fighting for danskhed. They're fighting for Danish nationalism, right? So they want to see Denmark, after all, not just as a white, homogeneous, racial white, but also with some certain values that they perceive as moral. And they are trying to convince us that ethnically cleansing a non-white population is not racist. But what can we do? We just have to keep pointing out what they are actually saying. And that's what I think.
Okay, so I think with that note, I would like to say thank you to everyone who participated today, and especially to my dear colleagues for setting up both the stand and supporting this event. And please follow us every Tuesday. We are here every Tuesday in the canteen, and you're very welcome to also contact Jonathan and Salah if you wish to have a deeper conversation with each of our guest speakers. And I want to thank you both, especially to you, Salah, for stepping in instead of Mohammed, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but thank you so much. And we of course hope that your family will be safe and that we will always support you and the people of Gaza. That is something that you can take with you today. And also, Jonathan, thank you for all your efforts, because Jonathan is also very active in this regard. And to all the students, especially, just never stop talking about Palestine. That's, I think, very important. So thank you all and have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.